So in this tutorial we're going to go over a simple method for creating a cluster but positioning and orienting it in a very specific manner. So the situation is we have a surface and we need to create a cluster on it, but we need that cluster to have very specific position and orientation. So what we could do, let's go in here and right mouse click and select vertices. Let's just randomly select a number of vertices here and then select Deform, Create Cluster. So that we have our cluster. You can see its orientation are based on the world coordinate system, and it's pretty much centered on this object, or is centered in the selection of vertices. So what we could do is we could switch to component mode and position and orient the pivot point of this cluster, but there's a simpler way to do this. What we can do is use a secondary object and replace the cluster handle, and that way we can get precise orientation on the secondary object and then use that to manipulate the cluster. So we're going to do that by creating a locator. Create locator. Now let's just arbitrarily position the locator and orient it. Once again, arbitrary, but let's just say that that is the precise orientation and position that we want for our cluster. So at this point we can select our cluster handle, open our attribute editor, and then select cluster 1 handle shape, or the shape node of the cluster, whatever name you've chosen for it. Click on that tab and then you'll see a collapsible window which says weighted node. Open that, and in the weighted node field you can specify the name of the weighted node handle. In this case we'll replace the cluster 1 handle with locator 1. So we saw the locator highlight as well as the cluster. It's the C handle of the cluster shifted over to that locator. Let's select cluster handle shape and click display to hide that handle there. So what we can do is now we can select our locator. And you can see now our cluster adheres to the position and orientation of this locator. So we have precise control over how we can place this cluster and how an animator will manipulate it. So once again, pretty simple, pretty straightforward tutorial, but this is a tool that I've found useful throughout the years when needing to add clusters onto a character or surface.